FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
We'll come back to, we've done time with Barack Obama, we'll come back to Barack Obama, but for just one segment, let's talk about George W. Bush.
Can we go back to Barack Obama?
Yeah, that's right. Help me out. Who is George W. Bush again?
Norman Podhoretz, quote, "By the time Reagan became president, we'd been fighting the Cold War for 33 years. By contrast, we started to fight the war on terror only after Bush entered the White House. In this respect, it was not Reagan to whom Bush should have been compared, but Harry Truman." Close quote. Bush, a second Truman. That's for sure what we heard from a lot of Bush supporters as his time dwindled down, as the days dwindled down to a precious few, to work in another lyric here. Valid. Truman did something big and important in recognizing, laying out the basic structure of the Cold War, but it was very unpopular. Decades later, we now think of him as a very good, if not a great president. You buy it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I hope that
Stop there. Why are all three of us pained having to talk about George W. Bush? What the heck is going on there?
He was a decent
man. He did a good job in all kinds of ways.
The idea is that what he did, regardless of what you think about the competence of his administration or any of the details, was he was confident in making big decisions, and he made them, and he slept that night, which of course is Truman's greatness. You know, I mean, yeah. He did the atom bomb, and he went to sleep that night. It didn't bother him. He made the decisions, recognized Israel, and so on and so forth. I'm not that big of a Truman fan myself, because I think the record shows that in many ways he was a petty, demagogic, small man, and I don't think you can. Andrew. I'm not a big Bush fan either, but I don't think you can make those kinds of claims.
Here's the case. I'm sorry though, but did you want to? Just cut me off at any moment. All I'm doing is vamping until you're ready to come in here.
With Truman, the troops were on the trains in many ways. I mean, he made a big deal about how he made the decision to drop the bomb like that. I made it like that. But in many ways, that was a fait accompli. It had been done, and they had to inform him about it. And he really was kind of the rubber stamp on that decision. And he had kind of a brain trust around there they had been thinking for at least 3 years, 4 years before him about what are we going to do when this thing is over, and it's us and the Russians.
Well, here's the argument.
So I would say that I think the reason why we're stymied by George W. Bush is because part of us doesn't want to give the other side any ammo, right? It's like hard, because the truth is that when we're privately talking amongst ourselves, he was a disappointing president. We wish he was I'll say I wish he were a bigger man. I wish that they were, I wish it didn't always seem so jury-rigged over there, and so sort of House of Cards, and so that weird bunker mentality. I wish that they hadn't made such a big deal about the weapons of mass destruction, and when they weren't there, suddenly it was radio silence from the White House, and they just sort of crouched in a defensive posture and tried to convince us that they found some tubes with some talcum powder, and that was it. I mean, there are a lot of things about that administration that, even though directionally they might have been correct, I wish they'd done it in a different way. And I feel like partly for our side is one of the reasons why Barack Obama did so well is because he spoke to people who wanted a president who could articulate and believe and say things, and didn't always seem to be looking at the note cards. It didn't always seem to be like a deer in the headlights.